Howdy folks, thanks for coming here and checking out this Fallout 76 video. The Milepost Zero update is finally here, and personally I've been having a ton of fun testing out some different builds, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a weapon that I firmly believe is definitely going to be one of the go-to boss killer weapons for the foreseeable future. Well, unless they decide to nerf this. The weapon I'm talking about is everyone's favourite two-handed melee weapon, the Auto Axe. Now, I don't really need to go into how you obtain this weapon for yourself because quite simply you can purchase it in the Atomic Shop, or look, you can pick it up for stamps from Giuseppe in the White Springs. So yeah, that's it, no real secret trick, just purchase it, that's all you do. But with the combination of legendary effects and with the build I've put together, I'm about to show you why this weapon is something you're going to want to get your hands on, because to put it simply, you'll be soloing world bosses in a matter of minutes. So let's take a quick look at the mods in the build. Taking a quick look at the mods that we have for the weapon, as you can see here, we are going to be going with the anti-armor effect, so pretty much we're going to get that plus 50% extra armor penetration. We also have the plus 40% power attack damage and the plus 3 to strength. So as auto axes go, this is kind of the roles you want to be looking out for. Again, with that plus 3 to strength, that is pretty much like a god roll for melee builds. So this is definitely one you want to be looking out for. And look, you know, if you want to swap it out, or you know, if you have the option, you can swap it out for maybe bloodied or vampires, whatever you want to do. Personally, I prefer the anti-armor effect with the auto axe, so this is definitely one to look out for. And then also look, we have the electrified mod. Personally, I just prefer the electrified mod with the damage that it does. And then lastly, look, you know, it's just really the paint, so you know, that's not really a big thing there. But as you can see there, we're currently doing 153 damage, 153 base damage with the auto axe, and we're also getting 365 of that energy damage with the electrified mod on. But yeah, that's pretty much the mods. There's not really much to it. You know, if you've been running auto axes there for the past couple of years, you'll know exactly what kind of roles you want to be looking out for and kind of the mods you want to be using as well. But yeah, look, let's go on to the main portion of this video, which is going to be the build and of course the armor and the buffs. So let's head over and take a look. Heading over and taking a look at the perk cards and the build. Now with this build, I've opted in to use power armor, and I know obviously at first glance you can't really notice any sort of power armor perk cards, but we are going with power armor. We're going up against world bosses, so we want to try and be as tanky as we possibly can. And also as well, look, you know, especially with the auto axe, we're not really going to be utilizing anything like sneak or any of those sort of things. But obviously, because it is a melee build, and especially because we are using a two-handed melee weapon, we are going to be using the likes of Master Slugger, Expert Slugger, and also as well Slugger, because that will give us that 60% extra damage increase to two-handed melee weapons. Now, we also have Incisor in there, so your melee and unarmed weapons ignore 75% of your target's armor. And also as well, I've got max rank of Blocker, so you take 45% less damage from your opponent's melee attacks. Definitely a great one to have in there, especially, you know, if you're going up against Earl Williams, going up against the Scorch Beast Queen, any of those world bosses, you want to try and be as tanky as you possibly can, and you want to try and mitigate as much of that incoming damage, especially because you're going to be getting very up close and personal with these world bosses. Now, moving into perception, I do have rank 1 of Concentrated Fire in there, but that is completely optional. I know people tend to use the auto axe and VATS, and they like to VATS particular limbs, you know, arms, head, and all that sort of stuff. I've popped that in there mainly because, yeah, look, I tend to use it as well in VATS, but bear in mind the auto axe does tend to use a good bit of AP, and you want to try and retain as much AP as you possibly can. So look, if you want to swap that out for something completely different, you can indeed, but I have that in there because, you know, again, I'd like to target specific limbs. Moving into endurance, and this is definitely an important one. So with the likes of endurance, there was a couple of perk cards with the Milepost Zero update that did get a bit of a tweak to basically what they actually do. Now, before we get into those, we're going to start it off. First of all, we are a low health build. Again, you know, obviously with low health builds, you are going to be doing quite a lot of damage. And, you know, with most of my builds here on the channel, I do tend to run low health. So we are going to be using Life Giver, and of course, we are using Nerd Rage as well. But with Life Giver, we do get a plus 45 advantage, or plus 45 to our maximum health. Again, definitely you want to try and be as tanky as you possibly can, so a great one to have in there. Now, as I mentioned, some of these cards did get a bit of a tweak. So Iron Stomach now actually increases damage resistance based on endurance while not diseased. So again, you want to try and be as tanky as possible. I know, look, we are using power armor anyway, but it's good to have that extra sort of tankiness in there, and especially that damage resistance that's coming from any sort of incoming damage. Also as well, we do have Thirst Quencher, because that also got a little bit of a tweak to it as well. So as you can see here, we now get increased max AP based on endurance while not diseased. As I mentioned, the auto axe does tend to use a bit of AP, so it's good to have as much AP as we possibly can. Now, moving into solo powered, we also have a tweak to this. Oh, actually, no, we don't have a tweak to this perk card. With solo powered, basically what this is going to do, you're going to gain +3 to your strength and endurance between the hours of 6 AM and 6 PM. So if you are trying to solo these world bosses, maybe, yeah, try and do it between these times. But look, this card will give you a great advantage because, again, look, as you can see there, it's giving you +3 to your strength. And the more strength that you have, the more damage you're going to be dealing with your melee weapons. Moving on, we've got fireproof. Take 45% less damage from explosions and flame attacks because, look, you know, this is also going to work against the likes of the Scorch Beast Queen and her Screech attacks, so it's good to mitigate that incoming damage, especially if you're getting sort of up close and personal. And then also, obviously, because, you know, we are low health, we are going to try and take as much advantage as we can from strength. We have Radicool in there, so the greater your rads, the greater your strength. Again, the more strength we have, the more damage we'll be dealing. Also as well, Rejuvenated. Now, I know there's a few sort of polarized opinions when it comes to this. This is completely optional. Personally, I like to run Rejuvenated because, as you can see, you gain even better benefits from being fully fed and fully hydrated. Personally, I like this. If you'd like to swap it out for something else, look, you can fire away. If you want to swap it out for something like Revenant or something like that, look, it's entirely up to yourself. You can swap it out for whatever. But personally, I do like the benefits from being fully fed and fully hydrated. And especially, look, we are using food buffs and, you know, we want to try and stay fully fed and fully hydrated. So it's a good one to have in there. Moving into Charisma, we've got Strange in Numbers because, again, look, the positive mutation effects of mutations are 25% stronger if your teammates are mutated too. I know I mentioned, again, look, you will be able to solo world bosses with this, but look, you can still do it if you're on a team, and this is a great one to have on, especially if you're running mutations. Moving in, we've got Suppressor, so you reduce your target's damage output by 30% for 2 seconds after you attack. Really good, especially if you're going up against Earl Williams. It's good to mitigate that incoming damage, especially that damage reduction by 30%, so at least you get a good head start on getting that damage into him. And then also sort of to couple that, we've got Tenderizer, max rank of Tenderizer, so make your target receive 10% more damage for 10 seconds after you attack. Definitely a combination there of Suppressor and Tenderizer, a very, very good one going up against any world bosses. Again, as I mentioned, we are, you know, low health, so we're going to be utilizing max rank of Nerd Rage, so while below 20% health, gain 40 damage resistance, 20% increased damage, and 15% AP regen. And then also as well, we've got max rank of Stable Tools, so automatic melee weapons break 40% slower. Moving into agility, we have max rank of Action Boy, so action points regenerate 45% faster. Again, the auto axe does like to use a lot of AP, so it's good to have that regeneration in there. And also as well, look, we will be utilizing the likes of Company T and other things like that to help with our AP regen, but definitely a good one to have. Through Hiker, because again, food and drinks weigh 30% less. You know, there are going to be a couple of food buffs I will obviously mention after we go through this that I'll show you what we're going to be using, because again, there's a lot of great sort of food buffs that you can use to maximize your strength and also as well your melee damage. Also, we have rank 1 of Born Survivor, so falling below 20% health, you'll automatically use a stim pack once every 20 seconds. This is actually optional, but personally, I love using this card, and especially when I'm using power armor going up against world bosses. So it means if any time I dip below 20% health, every 20 seconds, it's going to use a stim pack, so I'm still constantly getting that health back, which again, look, it's going to make us even more tankier. We've got max rank of Adrenaline, so gain 10%, max 60% damage for 30 seconds per kill. You know, this is a given. This is pretty much a card that I recommend that everyone uses regardless of what build that you run. It's an awesome card to have in there with that max 60% damage if you're you know, you're getting that bonus there. Now this one, I know probably people will have a few different opinions on this. Avoid 30% of incoming damage at the cost of 30 action points per hit with max rank of Dodgy. Again, I know I mentioned that again, the auto axe is kind of not saying AP heavy, but it is utilizing a lot of AP. Dodgy, I do actually like using this because again, I want to try and be as tanky as I possibly can. I'm not really utilizing any sort of other power armor perk cards, so look, with the likes of Dodgy, I do prefer actually popping that in there. But look, if you'd like to swap that out and use it for something else, you can, you know, you can do that if you want to. Moving into Luck, we've got max rank of Bloody Mess, so 15% bonus damage. We also have max rank of Ricochet, so gain 18% chance to deflect back some enemies' range damage. Also as well, we've got 1 rank of Luck of the Draw, so slight chance your weapon will repair itself when hitting an enemy. Definitely a good one to have because again, look, if you're constantly spamming that attack button button with the auto axe. It's good to have that in there just so, you know, it can obviously try and repair itself as you're trying to do as much damage as you can. Moving on, we've got max rank for Class Freak. We know this anyway. The negative effects will be reduced by 75% with your mutations. And then also, as I mentioned, we are going to be using bobbleheads and magazines. So the benefits in bobbleheads and magazines will last twice as long, and this is a great one to have on because I will get into the bobbleheads and magazines that we're going to be using in just a few moments, but this is awesome with this build. Moving on, starch genes, we know exactly what that does. You'll never mutate from rads, and you know, you'll never get rid of your mutations with rad away. And lastly, good with salt, so food in your inventory will spoil 60% slower because look, you are going to be carrying a good few sort of food buffs and things like that, so it's good to have that in there so the likes of your food doesn't spoil. Taking a look at the legendary perk cards, it's probably safe to mention that this particular build is definitely aimed towards endgame players, but look, you can obviously utilize this build as best as you can, you know, try and use as much of the perk cards as you can see here depending on what level that you are. But if you do have the option to use legendary perk cards, these are exactly the ones that we're using. So we're using max rank of legendary luck, max rank of power armor reboot, so we've got a 40% chance to auto revive with full health if you're downed in power armor. I have used this many a time and it does work very, very well. So, you know, if you forget to use a stim pack, or you know, if the likes of Born Survivor doesn't kick in and you know, accidentally get hit by a world boss and you get downed, it's a good one there to just kind of, you know, sort of save your ass in those kind of moments. So it's definitely a good one to have in there. Moving on, we've got max rank of legendary strength, agility, intelligence, and endurance, because again, you know, we're utilizing that +5 to all of those special stats to obviously give us all of those extra benefits to put in all those extra perk cards. So as I mentioned, this is a build that is kind of aimed towards endgame players, but obviously, you know, try and utilize the build as best you can, and you know, whatever perk cards that you can see, if you're kind of sort of like mid to sort of end game, obviously try and utilize as much as you can with the cards that I've actually shown. And once you have all of your legendary perk cards equipped, this is exactly what your special stats will look like. Now, the main thing to focus on is obviously strength, because the more strength that you have, the more damage you're going to be dealing with melee weapons. So definitely make sure to allocate as many points into strength as you possibly can. But look, you can copy this build as best you can, so if you'd like to pause the video here, you can go ahead and do so. Moving on to the armor, and as mentioned, we are going to be utilizing power armor. Now, with the set that I have here, I have managed to roll myself a full set of Overeater's power armor. Now, with the Overeater's effect, this will actually increase damage reduction up to 6% as you fill your hunger and thirst meters, so currently at 4%. Now, as you can see here, we do have a few other legendary effects, but one of the main things that I went for was the food, drinks, and chem weight reductions by 20%, because again, look, we're going to be carrying a lot of food, we're also going to be carrying chems and aid items and all that kind of stuff as well. But obviously, one of the main legendary effects you want to be looking out for is that +2 to strength, because if you can utilize getting that legendary effect on your armor, coupled with the build and the special points and everything that we're running here at the moment, that is definitely going to help you out in a big way. Now, the actual set of power armor that I'm using is the Hellcat power armor, because as you can see with the Hellcat power armor, you will get that 7% incoming damage reduction, and also as well you'll get that -15% incoming radiation damage, and then also as well the -2% damage from ballistic weapons. So this is a set of power armor that you definitely want to get your hands on. If you want to try and get it, you can get it from Regs in Vault 79. So again, those are the effects, that is the armor, and that's what we're using with this build. Alrighty, so moving on to the food and aid buffs, and then obviously the mutations, and also the effects that we're getting from the likes of our buffs. Now, one of the first things I want to mention, and definitely one food buff you want to be looking out for, is Deathclaw Wellington, because as you can see there, it will give us a +6 to our strength for 1 hour. Now, we're going to pop that on there, and then also as well, another thing we're going to pop on is Tasty Yogwai Roast, because with Tasty Yogwai Roast, you will get a +170% melee damage increase for 1 hour. But believe me, it gets much better when you see exactly what we're about to do here. Plus as well, look, it will increase your HP. Now, also as well, we're going to be popping on some company tea, because pretty much with company tea, as you can see there, it will give us an AP regen of +10% for 1 hour, and also it'll give us +20% disease resistance for 1 hour as well. Again, as I mentioned, with those new perk cards that have been sort of tweaked in the endurance category, we can't have any sort of diseases or anything like that whatsoever, because that will basically negate all of the effects that we're getting from those perk cards. So it's good to have as much disease resistance as you possibly can, so company tea is definitely going to to pop on there. Now, pemmican, that's another good one to have on because that will increase our endurance by +6 for 1 hour, because again, coupled with those endurance perk cards that we have, that is giving us an extra boost there to our endurance. And then also as well, it's giving us a +3.60 HP increase for 25 seconds. It's a good one to have on, so you can pop that on as well. Also as well, look, if you wanted to, you can take the likes of the slice of birthday cake, because again, look, that will increase your AP there for 25 seconds, but mainly it will increase your charisma there for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Now, moving on, we also are going to be using a strength bobblehead, because as you can see there, our strength will be increased by +2 for 2 hours, and that is with the curator perk card. Now, also as well, one magazine that I'm definitely going to recommend that you get, because you can obviously stack this with the bobbleheads, the Backwoodsman 6, because with Backwoodsman 6, it will actually give you an increase of +50% to the effects from cooked food. So before I pop this on, first of all, look, as you can see there, we've got the bobblehead on there for 1 hour and 59. Now, just going to quickly go down here. As you can see with the Deathclaw Wellington, it will give us +6 to strength, the pemmican +6 to endurance, the slice of birthday cake +3, and the tasty Yogwai roast +170% melee damage. Now, get ready for this. So, pop on the Backwoodsman 6, and as you can see, that has all been increased. So we're getting +9 to our strength with the Deathclaw Wellington, +9 to our endurance with the pemmican, and also as well +5 to our charisma. But the main thing you want to be looking out for is the tasty Yogwai roast has now been increased from 170% to 255% extra melee damage. This is definitely something you want to get your hands on. So if you can, definitely get the strength bobblehead, and as I mentioned, you can couple it with the Backwoodsman 6 there, because as you can see, we're getting that +50% effects from cooked food. Now, look, if you want to as well, you can add in maybe the likes of Psycho Buff. You can use that as well, because look, that will give us an extra, sorry, there it is there. That'll give us +25% extra damage, and +3 to our strength and endurance, and +65 max health for 3 minutes. So look, if you want to, you can pop that on as well. And then look, if you've got some extra sort of food buffs and all that kind of stuff, you can use those as well. But as you can see there, we've got everything coupled together. You know, there was a lot of perks there that are working very well in unison with all of these food buffs that we're using. But obviously, look, those those particular food buffs that we have there, it's definitely going to help out in a big way, and as you'll pretty much see from the footage in just a few moments. Now, moving down to our mutations, we've got Adrenal Reaction. We also have Carnivore, Herd Mentality, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. One thing I'm definitely going to recommend, try and stay away from any mutations that negatively impact strength, because we've mentioned it a million times already. Obviously, the more strength you have, the more that you're going to be dealing out damage. And as you can see there, being fully fed, we get +1 to our strength, +45 to our HP, and +45 to our disease resistance. So as you can see here, this is a very solid build, and you'll see it from the showcase here now in just a few moments. But quickly going over to our special stats, as you can see there now, our strength has been increased there to +55, perception is 3, endurance is 30, and then again, look, as we go down through our charisma, intelligence, and agility and luck. But one thing as well that you can utilize, and as you can see here, we do have the strength, or what do you call it, this thing here, the weightlift bench. That will obviously give us +3 or +2 or whatever it is, so that should go up there when we hop back into our power armor. I'm really sure what that was at, what, 55 or something like that. That should get increased somewhere up between 58 and 59. And again, look, the more rads that you have, the more sort of that's going to add to that strength. So pretty much you're going to be dealing quite a lot of damage here. So look, what we'll do is we'll stop going on. We'll just head on over. We'll have a look at the footage, and I want to quickly warn you as well, I do have a timer that you will see on screen, and I'm only going to be utilizing pretty much only going to be utilizing the timer for whenever I'm actually dealing damage to the world bosses. So with Earl Williams, and then also as well the Scorch Beast Queen. So yeah, let's head on over and take a quick look. have it, the Boss Killer Auto Axe build. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on the build showcased here today, and your thoughts so far in the Milepost Zero update. And if you feel you'd like to improve upon this build, then fire away, have fun with it, and go out there and do some serious damage. However, if you found today's video informative, consider giving the video a like, and consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. To our channel members and subscribers, thank you for your continued support and helping the channel to grow. If you're picking up anything over on the Bethesda Gear Store and you'd like to support the channel, you can use my creator code BTV9376 until September 7th to receive 20% off your entire purchase. Until next time, stay safe out there in the wasteland, welcome to Vault 93, and I'll catch you all in the next video.